Hello and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about foreign films, and I'm going to be sharing the 3 things of why foreign films continue to impress me, as well as show off my foreign film Blu-ray collection to y'all. So you kind of get a 2-for-1 in this video. So sit back and relax as we get started. Welcome once again, my name is Austin and this channel is all about digging deeper and going further to better understand faith and film and everything that's in between. If that sounds exciting to you, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any future content. Let's talk about foreign films and why I'm continually impressed with them. First reason, they are some of the greatest movies ever made. I'm going to talk about a couple of my recommendations here from my collection. First, I believe I've talked about this one before, is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. This is one that's kind of famous for almost popularizing foreign films, at least of the martial arts style back in the US, because it had some really incredible wire work, some fight sequences. It was very fantastical in a lot of its themes and stuff. So this one is definitely one that's considered one of the greatest, and I highly agree with it. Another one I'm sure you heard of is Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. This is one that is a really interesting thriller that has a lot of kind of social commentary. It blends drama, comedy, thriller, mystery elements, a lot of really interesting stuff together, and it's masterfully crafted by Bong Joon-ho. So if this is one you still haven't had a chance to check out, you'll definitely want to do that. Next we have the Raid movies, which I've talked about a number of times on the channel as well. These are considered some of the greatest action movies ever made. They incorporate a lot of different martial arts, and there's 2 of these movies. They're both awesome. The first one's very straightforward action thriller. The second one adds a bit more story and lore to the world, which is really cool. And if you are an action junkie, you've probably heard of these movies. And I highly recommend checking them out. You can usually get them pretty cheap too. I've seen them on like Amazon for $13, so definitely check these out. I don't know if they're award winning, but they're highly regarded as some of the greatest action movies ever made. And the US action movies just can't stand up to this. And then we have kind of a granddaddy of this, and this is Seven Samurai. Hugely influential amongst filmography worldwide. This was one of the first movies to kind of popularize a ensemble cast of a number of characters that were kind of the main characters, obviously in the title, Seven Samurai. So this movie is about the story of 7 samurai and their journey. It's a huge epic of a movie. It's like 3 hours long and it's beautifully shot, excellently acted. There's some really great action sequences, and then this is again being hugely influential amongst a lot of filmography. If you've heard of the movies The Magnificent Seven, either the more recent remake by Antoine Fuqua or the one from back in the 60s, this was the original, and those are like the American adaptation of that kind of movie story. The next reason why foreign films continue to impress me is because many of them incorporate a unique style and template to their films that you just don't see in US cinema. As far as a few examples for that, we have Shadow. This is one of the most beautifully shot movies I have ever seen. Now this is a martial arts action movie, and the cool thing about this is much of the movie has some great action and as it kind of leads up to some really cool battles. But the first kind of half is also like a political drama, but it's really interesting. You're really kind of invested into the characters and trying to figure out kind of all the details of what's going on, getting to know those characters, and then it pays off with some awesome action sequences at the end. And the way this is shot with its cinematography and color correction, every frame of this movie could be framed up on a wall as a painting, which is beautiful. It's beautifully shot. But the cool thing is the color correction on this was adjusted to almost make the movie look black and white, but it was a creative style chosen by the director to kind of match the oil paintings of this country's history, which is really cool. You just wouldn't see something like that in the US. And like I said, every shot of this movie could be framed as a masterpiece unto itself. But the cool thing with the color correction is it has this visual style to it of almost being black and white. Most of all of these colors in this movie are a shade of black or white, but it makes all of the action with all of the blood and stuff that much more impactful when that stuff does come in the film. So this is one that's so visually striking. It's a really cool story as well. So this is one I highly recommend. It is also, I believe, streaming on Netflix, so you could check it out there if you don't want to go buy it. Now, of course, we could not talk about the visually different styles of films made in other countries versus the US without talking about animation. I have Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away. This is the only movie I own of his so far. There's a couple others I'd probably like to get that I've seen, but this is definitely my favorite so far. And the worlds that this guy creates and animates are just breathtaking. They're so authentic and lived in and rich in the way that they're designed. It just seems like it's something that's been there for 100 years. And then besides that, the story that he comes up with to tell within these worlds is so unique and different from everything else. There's so many cool themes and characters, and it's just so unique in the way it's done. There's just nothing like it. And so if you are someone who enjoys animation within the US, Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli are a studio and a creator that you should definitely check out, because he's widely considered as one of the most creative and best animated creators of our time, and his films are excellent. Now, my final reason for why foreign films continue to impress me is probably one of my favorite ones, and that is because they are much more bold compared to US cinema. These movies are so much more bold when it comes to their action, their violence, their mature and dark themes. There's some incredible and mind-blowing stuff in these movies. One I don't have in my collection quite yet, but I did want to mention briefly, is I Saw the Devil. I watched this movie for the first time a few months ago. I don't remember where it was. I think I maybe streamed it on Amazon Prime or something like that, but it's one I immediately wanted to get. And this movie kind of presents itself as a murder mystery thriller where this police officer's wife is taken by a serial killer and murdered, and it kind of presents itself as it's the police officer or fiance trying to find the murderer, essentially. But I thought it was just going to be kind of like a quick 90-minute action thriller, but it's like a 2+ hour really digs in movie and explores some incredibly dark but really powerful themes when it comes to what lengths this man is willing to go to punish this serial killer and find justice for his fiance. And I won't say too much more because I don't really want to spoil anything for the movie, but this is one that's had a huge impact on me and really got me thinking about ways you can do a traditional kind of story and just pack in so much more for your audience to digest. And it's really good. So that's one I highly recommend. Besides that, some ones that are in my collection, one that I was introduced to recently is Old Boy. There is an American adaptation of this one with Josh Brolin, but this is far superior from what I have heard. And this movie goes to some places you will never see in a United States film in regards to its story and other elements, which I won't go into detail on, but this movie is mind-blowing. But it's a really interesting thriller action movie, and like I said, a third act twist that is absolutely mind-blowing that might leave you disgusted, but it's so powerful and says a lot. So it's a really good movie. Another one I want to talk about in regards to bold action is one that I just actually introduced myself to. Holy crap, it's a miracle this man is not dead. So these movies were made, and this is a perfect example of why foreign films are some of the best over the US films. And that is, Jackie Chan did 2 or 3, I think, films here in the United States and got so frustrated with kind of the system and the way that they structured the production of their movies, rushing, being so careful about money and all that stuff, which it is important stuff in regards to making a film, but he wanted much more control over that and to be able to do the action sequences the way he wanted, all that kind of stuff. So he got frustrated, basically went back to Hong Kong. So the first of these movies, Police Story 1, you will hear in his interviews and stuff I checked out that he still considers the best thing he's ever done. And this is, these are basically like action thrillers, and this first one just blew my mind. This guy does all of his own stunts, as we know and love Jackie Chan for. In Hong Kong, when he went back to make this movie, they understood his kind of vision for it and gave him all the time he needed to make it. This man is a perfectionist, and when he wants something done a certain way, because he wrote, directed, and starred in both of these films, when he wants something a certain way, you give it to him. And so if he needs 100 takes or a month to film one action sequence, you give it to him, because it's gonna turn out amazing. Now, these movies are back in the 80s, which I love the 80s in general when it comes to American cinema, but these easily go toe-to-toe with those awesome action movies. So these are some of the best Jackie Chan movies I've ever seen, hands down, and definitely as well some of the best action movies. So if you're a Jackie Chan fan and you've only checked out his English movies, you got to check out some of his films from Hong Kong, because the way they do the action in those movies is so different and so much more entertaining than the way they do them in the US. I'm still a huge Rush Hour fan, but my goodness, these movies are great. And then I talked about these movies probably to death on this channel, and that is the Rurouni Kenshin films. Only the 3 of these are on Blu-ray, the other 2 are on Netflix, but these movies are excellent. Some of the best sword play in any action movie I've seen. There's excellent story themes. I mean, like I've talked about these movies to death, so I don't want to annoy people talking about these even more. I've done at least 1 or 2 videos on this channel about this series alone. It's also an anime, but these are some of my favorite action movies as well. So those are why foreign films continue to impress me. I absolutely love them. Real quick, before I show the rest of my foreign film Blu-ray collection, I do want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Josiah. I've been encouraging him over the past year or so to start up a YouTube channel. He's also putting out a video about foreign films, and he's doing a Pick 5 series where he promotes 5 movies of certain various different things, and this week's happens to be foreign films. So he's going to recommend a number of foreign films for you to check out. I'll link to his channel down below, but I wanted to give him a shout out because he's a great friend of mine, and I thought it was really cool that we happen to be both be doing foreign film videos this week. Alright, so my foreign film collection, obviously a lot of these I've already talked about and shown, but we'll start with End on the Apocalypse. Again, awesome one, especially if you're not into subtitles quite yet. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, we saw. The Farewell, the first movie in a long time to make me bawl my eyes out. This is a great emotional story. Jackie Chan's First Strike. Now this is technically Police Story 4. I Am Dragon, really cool. This one's in Russian, and it's kind of a fantasy film. It's very similar in a lot of ways story-wise to Beauty and the Beast, but I actually even just watched this the other day. I still quite enjoyed it. It's a cool one. And then we have Ip Man, Ip Man 2, and then, come here, Ip Man 3, and the 4th one. They're great martial arts action movies. Bong Joon-ho's Memories of Murder. This is the second movie that he made, and I've not had a chance to see this one yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. Another one I haven't had a chance to see yet is Minari. Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro, popular in the US for a number of his English movies. This is my favorite movie of his. It is in Spanish, but it's a beautiful fantasy film that you should definitely check out. Again, Parasite, the Rurouni Kenshin movies, once again. The Raid movies, once again. Police Story 1 and 2, again, can't recommend those enough. Seven Samurai, The Shadow, again. Spirited Away, I really want to rewatch this one again soon. Train to Busan, another great zombie movie. It's an action movie about this man and his daughter who hop on a train as a zombie outbreak comes out. And then lastly, I have a 2-pack of Blade of the Immortal and 13 Assassins. So you got to see all of the foreign films I have in my collection, as well as why foreign films continue to impress me. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I kind of did it in a bit of a different style in the 2-for-1 almost. So thank you for sticking around to the end of this one. I'll see you in the next video.